Before the Fellowship was the greatest story you've never heard. I'm Greg.
I'm Cameron.
I'm Dan.
Join us as we read and react to the Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien. Last time we read chapters 15 and 16. In chapter 15 of the Noldor and Beleriand, Turgon returned to the Hidden Vale with builders who completed the city of Gondolin, the Hidden Rock. Ulmo promised to protect Gondolin from unwanted visitors, but urged Turgon to remember that the curse of the Noldor still stands, and that one would come to warn them of near peril at an unspecified time in the future. In Doriath, Galadriel recounted to Melian some of the hidden past of the Noldor, but withheld information about the Oath of Feanor, the Kinslain, and the burning of the ships at Losgар. Morgoth shared half-truths about the Noldor to the Sindar, and Angrod revealed the whole truth to Thingol. Thingol decreed that those who speak Noldorin Quenya would be considered kinslayers and betrayers. Finrod and the House of Finarfin left Doriath with heavy hearts. In chapter 16 of Meiglin, we heard about how 200 years in Gondolin was too much for Turgon's sister Aridel. She became weary of the place and decided to seek out the sons of Feanor. Turgon reluctantly allowed her to leave. She attempted to pass through Doriath, but Thingol would not allow her to enter, and she went northward past Ered Gorgoroth. Ungoliant's beasts attacked her and her traveling companions, and she was separated from them. Her companions returned to Gondolin, believing that she perished. She escaped and continued on to meet Celegorm and Codorfin. She was then ensnared by Eol, a Teleri, who dwelt quietly in darkness and despised the Noldor. Eol took her as his wife, and they had a son, Meiglin. Meiglin was grand in stature like the Noldor, but brooding like his father. As he eagerly learned more about the history of the Noldor from his mother, the two decided to flee from Eol and return to Gondolin. Eol pursued them and secretly followed them into Gondolin. Thingol came to admire Meiglin immediately. Eol was taken by guards before Turgon came to admire Meiglin immediately. Eol was taken by guards before Turgon, who told him that he would not be allowed to leave Gondolin. Eol took a javelin from his cloak and threw it at Meiglin, but Aridel, his mother, jumped in front of him and was hit in the shoulder. She died from her wounds, and the Gondolin Drim executed Eol, who cursed Meiglin with his last breath. Meiglin grew in power, both learning from and teaching Turgon many things. However, he lived in a secret darkness. He had a forbidden love for his kinswoman, Idril. Today, we discuss these chapters.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We're back.
That was a lot. That was a lot of reading. We're back.
Yeah, we're back. Ready to get our Hobbit on.
And you know what?
Yeah, that's a verb now.
Since the last time we had a discussion, I watched the film Titanic again. So I'm just full of references.
Did you do that in research for this?
It was research, yeah. It was research. No, that movie is actually good. Like it's
really good.
I didn't know. Good. I thought in my mind, I thought it had like kind of grown stale, or it is very 90s, but
Dan doesn't understand true love, so he doesn't get it.
It's true.
Wait, if you were researching for this episode, you should have watched Aladdin, because Aridel reminds me of Jasmine.
Huh.
You know, so she's like, I'm in this city and I'm sad. I'm sad at all my riches. I want to see the dangerous world out there.
Did they describe what she looks like, Arathel?
Well, she's called Aridel the White.
Does she have poofy pants like Jasmine, do you think?
Maybe. I think it describes her as like dark hair and very fair skin.
And for those that are hard at hearing at home, that was poofy pants. Oh.
Well, so, should we back up a little bit and talk about chapter 15 first?
Yeah, probably. Let's do that. So my man Ulmo comes in. He's my guy. And we said earlier that he has care for the Noldor and will guide them on their journey. And I just love this interaction where he tells Turgon to go to found Gondolin, and that is a really sweet interaction. I just love what he says. Like, he wants to protect him, go to this city, but he says, "Love not too well the work of thy hands and the devices of thy heart, and remember that the true hope of the Noldor lieth in the west and cometh from the sea."
Mm.
So he tells him to go in this city, which is going to be very well fortified, but to not love it and be, protected
It's
by
kind.
it.
It's kind of like, I mean, for the Noldor, even with the Doom of Mondos, their home isn't really in Middle Earth. It's not supposed to be their home for all time. Like, they were brought by the Valar into Oman, and that's like, in a sense, where their salvation will come from ultimately. And I guess we see that in Lord of the Rings too, right? Where as the elves depart Middle Earth, they all go
They
into the
sail
west.
to the west.
You know?
Yeah, that's interesting because it seems like the history of the Middle Earth was that the Valar separated themselves through war and strife and choices of the Noldor and from Middle Earth. But from the beginning, it was the Valar just are to make Middle Earth and to protect it and nurture it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So their hope still lies in the West. And then he tells him, like, this is going to be a great city, and I'll protect you as much as I can, but the doom of Mondos is still on you, and treason might awake within thy walls.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, I think I kind of feel grateful now looking back. I think we had talked about, like, try to remember reading this whole thing through the lens of the music of the Ainur, and also the doom of Mondos. Like, as things unfold, it's the things that Mondos said would unfold, this treachery and these evils that would kind of come from within the Noldor. And this is just kind of more foreshadowing of that, I guess. It's not really clear what this threat is yet, but there's something that's there. And I kind of love, I wonder, I'm not sure exactly what Gondolin might be analogous to in other, myths and stories, but it's kind of like this hidden fortress that it's almost like an unsinkable ship, It's like supposed to be an unsinkable ship.
Hence your
but it will
homework.
sink. It will sink. I assure you, it can.
Wait, why did you even bring up Titanic? What does that have to do with
I think
anything?
so that he could say that.
No, I did. That was not why, but it's just there's the parallels just come out, like, I don't know.
Interesting.
No, I just think I haven't talked about it. And there was a stretch where every episode I talked about Titanic.
Wait, and then are you talking about the forbidden relationship?
No. Just no. That's a different thing.
That works too, though, apparently.
Oh, gosh.
Well, because Myglin's just this poor boy from Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. And
right, and he just steals bread and, has a monkey on his shoulder, probably.
Yeah.
Is that where Jack's from, Chippewa Falls?
It is where he's from, yeah. I have some friends here that are from so they said they could tell it's not, they didn't do their research because people from there say Chippewa.
Oh, yeah.
Chippewa.
But did he at least drink Coors? Right, because that's from isn't Coors from Chippewa Falls?
No, it's
what am I thinking of?
The one with the shandy, the lemon shandy one? Leinenkugels.
Oh, is that Leinenkugels is from?
Leinenkugels, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, but wait, Chippewa Pride.
Yeah. That's Leinenkugels, yeah.
Oh, that is Leinenkugels. Okay,
yeah.
All right, okay. It's all the same to me, isn't it?
I guess so.
Yeah, don't drink any of it anymore.
Well,
the first time I read the Silmarillion, I thought that Thingol's kingdom and Turgon's kingdom were the same. And I got them confused because they're both T names and they're both kings of this kingdom that's kind of protected. Thingol has his girdle around it that's It's not like high walls and mountains and secret passages. It's just like a enchantment around it. But Turgon has this hidden city, so it definitely confused me the first time I read it.
Same. And I keep running into that. Like as I'm writing out the summaries, I keep interchanging thing. I think just now I said Thingol when I meant to say Turgon.
Oh, that's really good.
So you'll notice that. And I definitely did that earlier when I was talking about the geography and the maps and stuff. Because in my mind, from the first reading, Doriath was like hidden, and so was Gondolin. I kind of got them confused, but it is a little bit confusing.
Speaking of geography, shout out to Florian in our Discord who brought up a point we were discussing earlier in a previous episode. He says, we were talking about Lorien, how you hear Lorien in Valinor and Lorien in The Lord of the Rings. And he says, the forest in Middle-earth that Celeborn and Galadriel rule is called Lothlorien, but it's often shortened to just Lorien, which can cause confusion with the forest of Lorien in Valinor. And Lorien is also the name of
the Valar.
One of the Valar, Irmo, who is renamed as Lorien, which is the place he lives in Valinor. So thanks for that insight, Florian.
Yeah, that's helpful.
All right, so what's up with Galadriel in this?
Yeah,
chapter?
so it's funny because we were discussing this a little bit, and maybe I'm reading into it something that's not there, but my understanding is she kind of tells, she's very close with Melian, and so she starts to tell her more and more about the history of the Noldor. And I think it's, Melian, this is on top of 127. Melian says to her, there is some woe that lies upon you and your kin that I can see in you, but all else is hidden from me. And so there's like kind of this darkness that shrouds the Noldor, I guess, there's kind of this heaviness about them. And Galadriel tells her some things, but not all things. And if you remember, Galadriel was one of the ones, like she came to Middle-earth seeking adventure and wild lands and everything, right?
Yeah, she didn't really believe in the oath so much, or like the
I thought she needed to prove herself as a woman.
No,
sorry, that's Rings of Power. Sorry,
that's Jasmine again.
Okay.
So she does. I mean, she originally went there to rule and to be powerful, and so it kind of makes sense that she would frame things in this way, where she's suggesting, well, we had a lot of hardships getting here, but now that we're here, it's all good. Like,
you tell the truth, but not enough truth to make you look bad.
Right.
Very political.
Right. So this is a kind of interesting thing that I highlighted too. After Galadriel tells Melian all this stuff, they stop talking, but Melian tells King Thingol about the Silmarils and everything, like some of this stuff, right? And
that the world will be broken in battles.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's what it says. So it says, this is it just uses the pronoun she, so I think it's Melian, not Galadriel, but it could be either of them maybe. But she says, this is a great matter to King Thingol, greater indeed than the Noldor themselves understand, for the light of Aman and the fate of Arda lie locked now in these things, the work of Feanor, who is gone. They shall not be recovered, I foretell, by any power of the Eldar, and the world shall be broken in battles that are to come, ere they are wrested from Morgoth. And that's a great line, and I think it speaks to some of the discussions that we've had earlier about what is it about the Silmarils that makes them so important. And in a sense, it's just the desire for them that leads to them having such an impact to the fate of the world. Like it's because people will go to battle and break the world.
Yeah, it's not like they're the Infinity Stones. Like you put them in a gauntlet and you have all this power. It's more like their beauty and their legacy kind of cause this ripple effect of like these wars and these, decisions, the fateful decisions of people.
I do think too, it's kind of funny because we haven't really talked about the Silmarils, or we haven't read about the Silmarils very much lately. they're just kind of in Morgoth's control right now. But we will continue to hear more stories about the Noldor kind of went over there to try to take them back and failed. And now they're just kind of biding their time and growing in strength. But you know that they're going to act again soon because that's what they came for.
What's the significance of there's rumors of like the Noldor's departing Valinor. Why is that significant at this point in the story?
Where are you reading that?
So these rumors spread among the Sindar because of Morgoth's. Wait, I need to find it. I just saw it and I flipped away. Morgoth's whispering.
I see Whispered Tales on 128 in the middle.
Okay, let me have a look.
To me, it seemed like Morgoth was doing something similar to what he had done back in Aman.
Yeah,
where he was kind of spreading these half truths and sharing some things with the purpose of dividing the Noldor and the Sindar. You know,
so they would have a distrust of the Noldor for departing Valinor.
Or for the manner that they did it. Because remember, the Sindar are Teleri. They're actually Teleri.
There's Teleri.
And so the kinslaying is like especially egregious to them.
Most of them
that's their
back
people.
In Middle Earth. They didn't go to Valinor.
Yeah.
That's the significance of them.
And so the kinslaying and the burning of the ships and everything was against their closest, like it's other Teleri that were slain.
The ones who came to Valinor, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So Thingol is like especially mad about the kinslaying because it's his people that were slain. And
you can imagine. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, you can imagine how, if this very bad news or what it's called evil truth was hidden, that it could easily, once it's revealed, that Morgoth could easily enhance it with lies.
Right.
It says the evil truth was enhanced and poisoned by lies. Because if you say like, oh, they didn't tell you, like they killed, killed some of your kin, and it'd be easy to just make that even worse than what it was and to sow distrust.
Right. And I like this description here of Círdan, who we don't hear that much about, but it says he, hearing these dark tales, was troubled, for he was wise and perceived swiftly that true or false they were put about at this time through malice. And so he kind of recognizes, okay, maybe these are true, maybe not, but the reason we're hearing about them now is not good. It's
interesting because there was almost a reconciliation that happened when was it Maiglin? No, who was imprisoned in Angband and rescued?
That was our guy. What's his name? This is so bad.
Too many names.
Maedhros.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Maedhros?
Yeah. Okay. Maedhros. Yeah, Maedhros.
And one of the Noldor rescued him, correct?
It was one of the sons of Finarfin.
All right, here's all I know. Here's my kind of very shallow connection, but the houses, like the Teleri and the Noldor, were almost reconciled through that, even though there was a kinslaying, because a brother from one house rescued a brother from another house.
Fingon's the one that rescued him.
Okay, Fingon, rescues Maedhros, and so there's this hope at even though there's this dark past, even though there's the doom of Mondos, like maybe they can find reconciliation because of this heroic act. But then you have the full truth not being revealed, and Morgoth sowing discord in that. And then you have, different houses rising up and different kingdoms forming. So there is some splintering happening, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Anything else with chapter 15 before we jump into chapter 16?
No, I think we can go to 16.
Oh, I do have one. I have one little thing that I just wanted to highlight.
Thing too.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
You go first. You go first. Oh, you have one more too. Dan, what's your thing?
The language, the banning of the language, Quenya.
Yeah,
Tell
Noldor and Quenya.
Yeah, tell me more about that. What you understand about that?
Well, I think it's just really Thingol was already not very keen on the Noldor in general. And then once he learned more about how wicked they were in their journey to the Middle Earth, he decided, I'm not going to stand any of this. I'm forbidding their language from being spoken. And I think the way it describes it is that by this point, the different groups of elves have kind of different variations of language. So he kind of bans this Noldor Quenya. So the Sindar tongue becomes kind of the dominant tongue in Middle Earth. But I think the Noldor Quenya is like the language that Feanor develops. So it's kind of like the more advanced and like, I don't know, I guess it would be like,
almost Valarin.
It would be like the Greek of of the people versus like Latin, the vulgar Latin that people speak on the streets. So there are some Noldor that still speak their own language when they're together, because it's like kind of this high and superior language.
I also don't understand why Finrod is such a curmudgeon. Like when Galadriel's like, "Oh, why don't you have a wife?" That's
what I was going to bring up.
Okay.
I was going to bring that up. I thought that was really interesting.
It is, but I don't understand it.
Well, I think this is what it's a vow of celibacy. He has a certain calling. No, he's kind of a
curmudgeon.
I guess, I don't know. He's kind of melancholic here in some ways or something. Like the way I perceived it, he kind of says, "I have an oath to I swore this oath and I must be free to fulfill it. I can't be bothered."
Man, Galadriel's like 2,000 years old, and there's the first time she's flirted with a man, and he just didn't see it. He's like, "Oh no, I just got to go hang out by myself for a little bit."
Yeah. Well,
I got to go into the darkness.
Yeah. Well, I must be free to go into the darkness, Galadriel. No, but it even says
I was going to go in the darkness for a little bit and think my thoughts.
It says the one that he loved was Amadie of the Vanyar, who's back in Aman. So she's just distant. I guess he chose to leave. He didn't have to leave, but he did. He took the oath.
Yeah.
So he's there now. And he left his love behind in Valinor.
Is this the first and last time Galadriel flirted with someone?
Maybe.
Because of this?
Wait, aren't they related like pretty closely?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I think you know what I think happened is another
they're related really
romantic drama of the era.
Oh wait, we're going to be getting into that later on, aren't we? More people who are related and love each other.
Let me say my thing.
Oh, sorry.
I'm going to make another parallel. Amartie, the Vanyar woman, elf, she probably has a situation like she's probably like, it's like Pearl Harbor, where what's his face is dead and he died in a plane crash. So then she goes
Josh
back.
Hartnett or whatever.
Yeah, Josh Hartnett is dead. So then she goes back and
Ben Affleck
falls in love with Ben Affleck, and then she finds out he's still alive, and she's like, "Oh crap, that's not good." This is exactly what's happened here.
Exactly.
You should have watched Pearl Harbor in preparation.
Yeah, I know. Okay, on to chapter 16.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so again, this one we hear a lot about Aridel, the sister of Turgon, and she flees, and then she is pretty much captured by Eol and has a son, Maiglin, who features in a lot of the stuff in the beginning. But I don't know, general thoughts, ideas. It is kind of funny. It's like Gondolin is supposed to be this perfect place, where no evil enters, and she just kind of gets tired of it. I think that's kind of an interesting thing in its own right. After 200 years there, she's like, I'm kind of over this. I want to go.
Well, when you get bliss in a society, you turn soft. And then when you're soft, that brings about vice, and then the cycle, vice brings about ruin, and ruin brings about heroes, and heroes bring about bliss, and bliss brings about soft people again. So I think there's probably, I don't know how many years have passed since Aradel is in Gondolin, but it's probably many years.
Yeah, I think it says 200 years or something.
Okay, so she
200 years, yeah.
So she's on like some kind of mission, right? To find.
She's just weary of the guarded city, it says.
Okay, but she ends up like coming, across Ungoliant's creatures, is how they put it. The fell creatures of Ungoliant.
Right, and
is that just Ungoliant's spawn, or is she able to vomit up things and create like weird creatures? Like what's Ungoliant?
Well, before that, I didn't mention this in the summary, but Turgon, for some reason, is like, okay, fine, you can leave. Just go seek out our buddy Fingon, and that's it. Don't go any farther. And as soon as she leaves, she's like, I'm not doing that. I'm going to go seek out the Sons of Fëanor and do some cool stuff and blow some stuff up and kill some orcs, So that's what leads her to pass through the mountains, Ered Gorgoroth, where Ungoliant's brood live.
Oh, so it's just a spawn.
I think so. Yeah, I think she's.
This says the fell creatures of Ungoliant. So I guess so, unless Ungoliant has powers that we're not aware of.
I was under the impression that Ungoliant like bred with things.
Yes. Oh, other like creatures like orcs,
like deer. I don't know.
Orcs, maybe deer. Yeah, spider deer. Yeah.
That's
pigs.
Terrifying.
Well, the funny thing is, I think the last we heard of her alive, it just kind of suggests loosely that she may have just consumed herself in her gluttony and died.
Yeah, but she had little offspring, cute little offspring spiders.
Oh, okay. So she's not actually alive.
But it kind of vaguely, it said like vaguely in the future, it's assumed that she's dead, but it never really clearly specifies.
I'm looking that up right now.
What about the character Ale? He's kind of an interesting one. I find him very fascinating. He's just a dark guy. And okay, I have a question for you, Dan, because I was thinking about this. There's like a couple sources of evil in this world. I think this is a topic we've talked about a couple times, but there's Morgoth and all of his influence and his beasts and everything, right? Like there's orcs because he's tortured elves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then there's kind of like now there's like more evil that's kind of the result of the actions of the Noldor and different, I guess of these like sentient beings that have some kind of free will and choose evil sometimes, right?
Yeah.
But the Noldor have like the curse of the Noldor and the doom of Mandos upon them. But Eowl's a Teleri, and he's kind of a pretty wicked person, it seems like. But there's not really like an explanation of that. Do you think just evil is just spread throughout all of Middle Earth now, or?
Yeah, I think things are still in a state of becoming, so that because there's evil elsewhere and because there's evil that has happened, I think people can be corrupted. I think Eowl included. I mean, as far as I understood it, he became like somewhat of a reclusive kind of character, right?
Yeah. So that's right.
Kind of just got lost in his own thoughts.
Interesting. I like that idea. I feel like I've read a couple quotes to that effect where when we try to look for understanding and truth inwardly, we really can be led astray, like, and into darkness if we're just kind of turning in constantly,
Gollum.
Well, Scripture says that the human heart is, confusing, or I forget the word it used. Like who uses? Who can understand it? Human heart.
Yeah.
All right. Here's here's what happened to Ungoliant. So she fled after that fight with the Balrogs. Remember?
Yeah.
And then
she was spewing out all her
into that dark valley, which afterwards was called Nan Dungortheb, the Valley of Dreadful Death, because of the horror that she bred there. Ew. For other foul creatures of spider form had dwelt there since the days of the delving of Angband.
Oh, so there was already spider form.
Yeah, there's like Morgoth,
Yeah.
He's working on the railroad, and then spiders are coming up from the ground. And it says she mated with them.
Oh, so it's like there's jumping spiders
them.
there. There's jumping spiders, but she's a black widow, so she mated with them.
She's probably a lot bigger than them.
And then she gave offspring to little jumping Ungoliant, black widows. Gross.
Do you think Shelob is there? Do you think Shelob is there now?
Shelob? Oh well, maybe because yeah. I wonder who's Mr. Helob. Her dad. Shelob's dad. He's dead because he's been eaten, but we should pull one out for him.
What if Shelob's dad is just like a really short and stocky spider with like a receding hairline? He's like really short, just like not scary at all.
He got eaten pretty quickly, though. Let's be honest.
Poor Shelob.
Greg's dead. We killed Greg. We broke him.
You got me. So this is a pretty action-packed story here. Once Eöl once Aredel and Maeglin decide to flee from Eöl. Oh, I love Maeglin is so fascinating too. He's like strong and he has the Noldor blood in him.
He's a son of Aredel.
And his name means sharp glance, for he perceived Eöl perceived that the eyes of his son were more piercing than his own, and that his thought could read the secrets of hearts beyond the mist of words.
Is that what made you think of Titanic? Could you thought of Jack's sharp eyes?
He does have sharp eyes, kind of piercing, if you ask me.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. It's a funny detail here, but Eöl doesn't name him for 12 years. He's just nameless for 12 years.
Oh, weird.
Ouch.
That's why he's like there's this SNL sketch that you must watch at some point, all of our listeners. It's got Adam Driver where it's like career day at school, and he's this ancient oil baron.
Did you say career day or queer day?
Career
day.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
He's like,
maybe I'll post some of the audio.
Look at your father in the eyes, boy. That's how Eöl is with Maeglin.
There you go.
I'm Mordecai's father. Hello, boy. How are you? Look at your father, boy.
So what happens, Greg? What's the action-packed thing?
So they flee to Gondolin. Eöl secretly follows them. And Aredel is welcomed back by Turgon, and Turgon really likes Maeglin. Like he really, they become fast friends, and he kind of looks after him. But Eöl
so what's their relationship, Turgon and Maeglin?
Turgon is uncle. Yeah, is Maeglin's uncle. Cool. Aredel is his sister.
Right.
So
that makes sense.
So Eöl shows up and crashes the party, but he's not supposed to come there because it's a secret place. So they capture him. Turgon tells him he can't leave. He gets really mad. He says, you're not my dad. That's what he says, pretty much. You can't tell me what to do. And Turgon's like, well, you can try to leave and we'll kill you, or you can stay.
Yeah.
And then
because this is no one can leave the secret city.
Right.
But from Eöl's perspective, he's like, you don't have authority over me. Like, how dare you?
Right.
So decides to leave.
So then he pulls out a poisoned javelin from his cloak and throws it at Maeglin, that's kind of a whole interesting thing. Like, he just has this deep disdain for his own son.
Yeah.
Um,
That theme comes up a lot.
it's kind of like it's this weird thing where he's like, I hate you because you're Noldor, and I hate the Noldor, but I married a Noldor, and that's why you're part Noldor. It's like, I don't know what his thing is exactly, but he just really has this. I think
it's like Denethor, isn't it?
Kind of, yeah. It's maybe
it's like, what's wrong with you? Like, freaking, like, stop trying to kill your son.
I think it might be that as he grows, because Aredale tells him more and more about the Noldor history, and Maeglin becomes more and more interested, and he's just eating it all up. And so maybe as he becomes more influenced by the Noldor history, Eöl just comes to despise him more and more, or something like that.
So then, did you say what happens?
So Aredale jumps in front of the javelin, takes the blow, and dies from her wounds. And
well, at first there's like, oh, it's just a flesh wound.
Yeah, right.
I'm okay.
There's but a flesh wound, and they're like, okay. They capture Eöl, and they're like deciding what to do with him. And then Aredale dies, and they're like, execute.
Find out about the poison.
Throw him off a cliff. So they do, and this part too. It's really interesting. This is definitely the Adam Driver bit, but this is page 138. As they're like going to execute Eöl, he yells out to Maeglin, and Maeglin has this darkness too, you know, and he just watches as his father is being executed. But Eöl yells out to him, "So you forsake your father and his kin, ill-gotten son.
Ill-gotten son.
Here shall you fail of all your hopes, and
That's
here
so
may you yet die the same death as I."
That's so reminiscent of Denethor.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it's like, I mean, it almost makes me think that there's like these recurring themes that are like, it's like there's a spirit, not like a invisible being, but just like a mode of being that kind of repeats itself throughout these stories. Yeah, it's interesting.
That's true, because later on you have Darth Vader, who ends up being his father, but he he's on the
and
he's an evil,
and he
Sith
says,
Lord.
"I hate you" to Obi-Wan. So it's like repeats itself over and over again, right?
When does he say "I hate you" to Obi-Wan? Wait, Thingol?
No,
Vader.
Before
When
he
does
was
he
Vader, as he's becoming Vader.
I hate you. He says that.
More like, I hate you.
Oh, is it when he's burning?
Yeah, there too.
Oh, the ship's at Lascar.
yeah.
It's all connected.
Yeah, but no, sorry, just to bring it back to how it is actually connected. Yeah, like you will die the same death as me. Even that theme is, you know, Denethor tries to get his son, what's his face?
Feanor?
Nope, that's what I keep thinking in my head.
Faramir.
Yes, thank you. Read, like, listeners at home are going, Faramir! Faramir, it's Faramir! Yes, Faramir, that's it. Tries to get him to jump on the pyre with him.
You know, okay, I know you're making Star Wars jokes and stuff, but a real parallel, something. Okay.
A real,
there is something about Maeglin, like he just looks on as his mother dies and as his father dies, and there is like this dark, like the dark side is in him. It's like you know, it is like, he is kind of like Anakin in that sense, where he's very powerful, he's very smart, you know, he's young, and he also has a lot of darkness in him. So I wonder how that will play out.
It's his high drama.
I call pod racing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's this last paragraph on 139, the last two paragraphs, they kind of say a lot, even though it's just a little, you know, tag on this story. He's very, you know, he's learning stuff. He's teaching Turgon stuff. Everything seems well with him. That's what, you know, all seemed well with the fortunes of Maeglin, who had risen to be mighty among the princes of the Noldor. but not everything was really like that. There was darkness within him, and he was robbed of joy because he had this forbidden love for what is pretty much his cousin, his first cousin, Idro Celebrimbor. And it's, you know, it's kind of funny because she's not unaware of this. She knows that he has feelings for her and is like kind of disgusted by that, and that just like stirs the darkness even more in him. But this is the line that really stuck out to me. It's talking about how this kind of like incestuous desire, it calls it an evil fruit of the kinslaying.
Interesting.
On
Where is that?
128. That's like
128
the
or 138?
excuse me, 139. 139. It says it's speaking of Idril, and it said, "For it seemed to her a thing strange and crooked in him, as indeed the Eldar ever since have deemed it, an evil fruit of the kinslaying, whereby the shadow of the curse of Mandos fell upon the last hope of the Noldor." So
Interesting.
it kind of mentions like at this point, none of the Noldor had even considered, you know, like romantic affection or attraction for close kin. This is kind of the first time it ever popped up, and they deemed it evil fruit of the kinslaying.
Which is interesting to call it a fruit of the kinslaying, because it sounds like originally, like, why would, you know, this inordinate love or affection for your kin be a fruit of murdering your kin? But those are both opposites of the virtue in the middle, which is, you know, self-sacrifice or genuine love. And those are two extremes. So there are kind of kindred, you know, disorders.
Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting point.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's I feel like that just nailed it.
Yeah. This very last line too kind of says, I think, what you just said in probably better words because it's Tolkien's words, but
yeah,
a dark seed of evil was sown, and it's kind of that same seed that produces these two different fruits: the killing of your kin and the inordinate desire of your kin. You know, it's fascinating that even in the midst of this, I think this is a lot of how the Silmarillion is. We've heard some of these stories, and there's characters that have passed throughout the stories, some of these key figures. But in this case, we learned about a new figure, Eöl, and he's gone already. And Aradhel's kind of the most substantial part of the story she's been a part of, and she's gone. And there's just like, there's these, they're kind of these little vignettes in here, right? That capture different goings on of the Noldor as they're navigating this world. And
now
it's just, they're each fascinating in their own right.
Do these specific stories we just crossed over, do they come back at all later on? I mean, we're not going to remember it to be able to discuss this part later on. Probably if they don't come back, we'll just forget about it. But
Miglin definitely features more.
Okay.
Gondolin does.
And Gondolin does,
for sure.
So now we know the history of that. We know
we
know some of the more nuances behind. That's world building is crazy. Tolkien is amazing.
Yep.
Greg, you want to say, or Dan, either of you want to say some words on our format?
Oh yeah, format. I'll do it. Being as I'm the culprit. Okay, so we're all family men here, and we all have jobs, or commitments rather, and so we tried to do a different format where we would record a full chapter and then do a discussion of 2 or 3 chapters at a time at a later date. It's not going to work for us. Now, we're not doing it because we're not changing this up again because this is the feedback we've got from you. So you might have really liked us changing it up.
Actually, one bit of feedback we just got was someone saying, "Oh, can you go back to the old format?"
Well, for that person, just for you, we will. Just for you, my friend. So next time, we will
be shorter
read
episodes
and react in that old format.
And I think the key thing for us, just so people are aware, is like we want to be able to release the episodes weekly, and sometimes we have scheduling conflicts and it's hard for the three of us to get together to sit down. So what we hoped would make it a little bit easier and lighten that load did not really make it easier. So
it was good for everyone but me.
to
Just throw myself under the bus. I was the problem child here. So we're going back to the old method.
So definitely, jump in the discussion in Discord, and would love to hear what you guys think. We had a winner. I don't know if I've announced this yet, but we had a winner of our book giveaway.
Nice. Was it me?
It was not you. It was I think his Discord name is MacGyver.
Nice. That rhymes with my last name.
Yeah. So so that went out, and I want to continue to do stuff like that. Like every time I go to a used bookstore now, I just like go over and see what Tolkien stuff is there.
Nice.
And I'm shamelessly giving away copies of the Silmarillion as presents and telling people to listen to this podcast.
Nice.
But you can do the same wherever you are, listeners. And
where's Guy K? Have we reached out to him yet?
Not yet, but we will. We will. So,
okay.
All right. So let's leave it there. If you like what you hear, go ahead and rate us 3 Silmarils out of 3. Follow us everywhere at Before the Fellowship, and send any comments or questions to beforethefellowship@gmail.com. Join us next week as we read and react to the greatest story you've never heard, The Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien.